Did you know that the global pharmaceuticals market was worth $934.8 billion in 2021 and is expected to reach $1,170 billion by 2023? Well, take a breath, because we're about to dive deep into the fascinating world of pharmacology. Pharmacology, in its simplest form, is the study of how substances interact with living organisms to produce a change in function. It's not just about developing new medications or finding the cure for diseases. It's about understanding the very essence of life itself, how our bodies respond to different substances, how these substances can be used to enhance our health, and how they can be harmful if misused. The field of pharmacology is vast and varied, encompassing a range of disciplines from molecular biology and genetics to physiology and medical science. It's a critical component of modern medicine, guiding the development, testing, and use of drugs to treat and prevent illnesses. At its core, pharmacology is about understanding the nature and sources of drugs. These can range from natural substances such as plant extracts and animal toxins to synthetic compounds created in laboratories. Each drug has a unique nomenclature, a system of naming that helps us understand its source, chemical structure, and pharmacological properties. Pharmacology also involves the study of the essential drug concept, a list of minimum medicine needs for a basic healthcare system. This list is guided by the National Drug Policy, which aims to ensure the availability, affordability, and rational use of medicine. The rational use of medicine is a key principle in pharmacology. It means using drugs in a manner that maximizes their benefits while minimizing their risks. It involves considerations of dosage, timing, and the individual needs of each patient. So, as we can see, pharmacology is not just about pills and potions. It's a vast field that impacts nearly every aspect of our lives. Every great story has a beginning, and the story of pharmacology is no different. Its roots stretch back to the dawn of civilization. Imagine our earliest ancestors experimenting with different plants, seeds, and roots, discovering by trial and error which ones could cure sickness, ease pain, or induce sleep. This was the beginning of pharmacology, albeit in its most primitive form. As civilizations grew and knowledge expanded, so did the field of pharmacology. The ancient Egyptians, for instance, documented hundreds of medicinal recipes in the Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest known medical texts. In ancient Greece, Hippocrates, the father of medicine, advocated the use of specific drugs to treat individual diseases, a concept that forms the basis of modern pharmacology. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, where the Arab world made significant advancements in the field. Scholars like Avicenna meticulously catalogued hundreds of drugs and their uses, laying the groundwork for future generations. The Renaissance period saw the separation of pharmacology from general medicine, with the first pharmacopoeias, official publications containing lists of medicinal drugs, being published. This was a significant milestone, as it led to the standardization of drugs and dosages. The 20th century marked a revolution in pharmacology. The discovery of insulin in the early 1900s, the development of antibiotics in the mid-century, and the introduction of targeted therapies in recent decades have all transformed the landscape of medicine. Today, pharmacology stands at the forefront of healthcare, with cutting-edge research focusing on personalized medicine, genomics, and nanotechnology. Drugs are being designed not just to treat diseases, but to prevent them, to slow their progression, and to improve the quality of life for patients. From the ancient herbal remedies of our ancestors to the cutting-edge treatments of today, pharmacology has come a long way, and its journey is far from over. Now that we've seen where pharmacology comes from, let's explore where it's going, the scope and principles of this dynamic field. Pharmacology, at its core, is the study of how substances interact with living organisms to produce a change in function. This field of study is vast, embracing areas from neuropsychopharmacology, the study of how drugs affect the mind, to toxicology, the study of harmful effects of chemicals. Pharmacology isn't just about creating and prescribing medicine. It's also about understanding how that medicine works, how it interacts with our bodies, and how our bodies process it. This is essential for developing more effective and safer drugs. In the quest for knowledge, pharmacologists often delve into various subdisciplines like molecular and cellular pharmacology, studying the interactions between drugs and molecules or cells, and clinical pharmacology, focusing on the study of drugs in humans. So, what are the principles that guide pharmacology? Firstly, there's the principle of drug action. This is all about understanding how a drug produces its effects. It could be by interacting with a receptor, altering a biochemical process, or even changing the physical properties of cells. Next, we have drug interactions. This principle explores how different drugs can affect each other's performance. For example, one drug might enhance the effect of another, or it could inhibit it. Understanding these interactions is crucial in preventing adverse effects and ensuring effective treatment. Lastly, there's pharmacokinetics, the study of what the body does to a drug. It looks at how drugs are absorbed, distributed, metabolized, and excreted from the body. This principle is key in determining the dosage and frequency of a drug. Whether it's developing new treatments for diseases or studying the effects of drugs on the human body, the scope of pharmacology is as broad as it is exciting. Ever wondered how drugs get their names, or why there are so many different types of drugs? Well, wonder no more. Firstly, let's talk about the nature and sources of drugs. Drugs come from varied sources. Some are derived from plants, like aspirin, which is made from willow bark. Others are made synthetically in labs, like many antibiotics. Some drugs, like insulin, are even created using bacteria or yeast. Now, onto the fascinating world of drug nomenclature. The process of naming a drug is a meticulous one. Each drug has 3 names: a chemical name, a generic name, and a brand name. The chemical name describes the drug's chemical composition and molecular structure. The generic name, often shorter and simpler, is the official medical name for the active ingredient in the drug. The brand name is the trade name under which the drug is sold by a particular company. It's like the drug's street name, if you will. Moving on to the types of drugs. There are many categories, but to keep it simple, let's look at 3 main ones. Over-the-counter drugs, or OTCs, are readily available without a prescription. Prescription drugs, as the name suggests, require a doctor's prescription. Lastly, there are controlled substances. These drugs have potential for abuse or addiction, and their distribution is strictly regulated by law. Now, let's talk about the concept of essential drugs. These are drugs that satisfy the healthcare needs of the majority of the population. They are always available, affordable, and are often on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines. Lastly, the National Drug Policy. This policy makes sure that essential drugs are accessible to everyone, especially those in need. It promotes rational use of drugs, ensuring that they are used appropriately, safely, and effectively. So from nature to the pharmacy shelf, every drug has a story to tell, a story of discovery, innovation, and careful naming. In the world of pharmacology, it's not just about creating new drugs, it's also about using them wisely. This brings us to a key principle of pharmacology, the rational use of medicine. But what does this mean exactly? Simply put, rational use of medicine means using drugs in a way that optimizes patient outcomes. It's about prescribing the right drug at the right dose, for the right duration, and for the right patient. It's about balancing the benefits and risks, maximizing effectiveness and minimizing harm. However, achieving rational use of medicine can be quite challenging. Overuse, underuse, and misuse of drugs are common problems worldwide. Overuse can lead to drug resistance, while underuse can result in untreated or poorly managed conditions. Misuse, on the other hand, can cause harmful side effects and even fatal outcomes. So how can we promote the rational use of medicine? There are several strategies. First, we need to educate healthcare professionals, patients, and the public about the proper use of drugs. This includes understanding the indications, contraindications, side effects, and interactions of different drugs. Second, we need to implement evidence-based guidelines and clinical pathways. These tools can guide healthcare professionals in making informed decisions about drug therapy. Third, we need to monitor and evaluate drug use. This can help identify problematic patterns and drive improvements in prescribing and dispensing practices. Lastly, we need to foster a culture of accountability and responsibility. Everyone involved in the medication process, from manufacturers to healthcare professionals to patients, has a role to play in ensuring the rational use of medicine. In the end, the goal of pharmacology isn't just to create effective drugs, but also to ensure they're used rationally and responsibly. It's about making the most of our therapeutic arsenal, all while ensuring the safety and well-being of patients.